All right. Anyway, we'll go ahead and we'll call the 5 o'clock meeting to order. If there's no objection, we'll go ahead and move on with the acceptance of the agenda. If there's anything that needs to be added or not, then we'll do that. Hearing none.
Yeah.
The approval of the minutes. Oh, is there anybody here that needs to be added to the agenda? Yes, sir.
Just go ahead. I got a question. I got a request.
We'll put you, yes, sir. Hold on, we'll put you down.
Okay.
We'll go ahead with the approval of the minutes. I need a motion.
I move to, I approve the minutes from last meeting. Second.
There's a proper motion, a proper second, any further discussion, hearing none, everybody ready to vote. All in favor of approval of the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Passes unanimously of the approval of the minutes. We have first on the agenda. I tell you what I want to do tonight. If there's no objection, I know we've had some issues concerning 314 Raindrop Lane. I would like to just move that up to the front so we can kind of discuss that and get it out of the way. And if there's no objection from that, is that everybody good with that? Because I have a few things. I went back and looked at that myself. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So if there's no objection, we'll go ahead and move up to the top.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I may ask the committee, could you move item E up the top?
oh, yes.
I have a situation at home I need to get back to.
Okay.
And, I know you should be explaining what's going on, but I need to get back. So if you
Yes,
just move
sir.
me up the top, I'd get out
If
of
there's
your
no
way.
objection from the committee, hearing none, we'll move that, the second, the set right there on the list after this.
Okay, thank you.
After this one. Let's go ahead and move to 314 Raindrop Lane because there's been an issue, and I want to say this before anybody says anything, because I think this is important. The way, okay, that happened almost, the issue was there was a drainage issue on 314 by a former alderman who had requested help from Public Works, who had talked to me about it, and I remember it after I looked at it. And then he came up, the gentleman, Mr. Little, had come up to the Board of Aldermen and showed us the email, and I went over there and I even went to the house and looked at it. This was three Public Works directors ago, but I remember that on that issue because what I did was I went back in the garage and pulled out all my stuff because I have, stuff that I've done in the past, and sure enough, there it was. And Matt Stamper had contacted me verbally and written correspondence, and I went over there and looked at it. At first, I told the gentleman I thought we could help him, and really did. I thought we could do it from the road because back then, back in 2000, I think 2003, I think the gentleman said that. So it's been almost 10 years ago. But back when Mr. Horton was our public director, we were not allowed as a city to go on private property and fix drainage problems. That was number one. And then number two, we did not have a stormwater drainage fund like we do now. So our funds were limited, but more importantly, I don't remember that until Sarah had told me today and just dawned on us like, God, that's right. But I remember the non-funding issue. But I do remember going over there and speaking with the gentleman. But the major issue that we had at that time was we were not allowed to get on public property, or private property, excuse me. So I thought we could go on public property and work back from the road, because if you've seen it, which I'm sure you all have, there might be a chance that you could get there on the road. But apparently, Mr. Horton and and city staff at that time said no. And it could have been because of funding. I don't know that. I don't have any proof of that, but I do recall that that was the reason why. Now, where it comes kind of sketchy is who was supposed to contact him. Whether it would have been Matt Stamper, could have been myself, it could have been Public Works. And they very well, I wish he was here tonight. I hope he's here tonight at the board. They might have tried to get a hold of him. I don't know, but it's been so long ago. I don't have any correspondence as to saying, sorry, I can't, we weren't able to do that. But that's how I recall that. And I was going, I was really thinking about it because I was going to tell him, that I was going to call him and tell him how much that I did not appreciate the fact that he was trying, at least the way that I looked at it was, and I'm always going to defend this committee regardless, but I felt that, he was kind of throwing them under our committee under the bus, and that was not necessary to do that. But then, I got up and I told Sarah when I spoke to her about it earlier, one of the most important things as an alderman over my years of experience since 1987, 86, or whenever it was, that I have always, that it dawned on me, and I always got mad at other aldermen who didn't do this, but I was catching myself because I realized that I shouldn't be mad at him for the way that he was saying, not one bit, because we work for him. Doesn't matter whether, whether I'm in Ward 1 and he's in Ward 6 or anything like that. We work for the city of Hendersonville. So I was going like, oh my God, I was getting caught up into that same thing. And so I was like, you're getting mad or doing things the very same way other aldermen that over the years, because I was thinking of all the aldermen. And we work for the people of Hendersonville, regardless of what they say to us, whether they dog cuss us or whether, we can help them or not, at least we try. And that's what we want to do here today. So I want people to realize that, it wasn't anything on purpose that I did, and if you want to believe that it is, that's fine with me. I don't care.
Can I inject something into your conversation? And
Yes, sir.
I don't mean to pick.
No.
Is that beside his house?
Yes, it is.
I think if you look back in the archives, I went over there and I made pictures of that.
I remember us talking about it.
I went over
I've
there.
got notes-
It's
I've got notes
been
on
years ago.
Yeah.
And I made pictures and I gave them, I sent them into Public Works. Can you look in good, when you check back and see if the pictures are there, the dates and everything? But I recall that young man, he was so nice to me when I went out there. But now that's been years ago.
Yeah, and he knows about this meeting. I went out and talked to him at his house.
All right.
Told him that we were going to bring it up today. I thought he said he would be here. Maybe something came up, but I'm interested to know what the solution is. What can we
Well,
do?
that's what I'm saying. We've got a solution. And I'm gonna, if everybody's ready, I'm gonna turn it over to Sarah, but I wanted I wanted y'all to know, number one, as you all well know, when he was saying comments about, just about the project in general, we really don't respond to people from the board. Now, if it's a very serious issue and they say something, I'm going to speak up, but I thought we could resolve this in committee today. And that's why I never did respond to that. And I'm sort of glad that I did, because I really thought about it, and that's just how I feel, that as far as we're working for those people, we're working for everybody. So Sarah, let's go ahead and let's tell us what you've done your research on this. And
Sure.
so-
Yeah. So I did look through the history of what we might have on file. I didn't find anything, fortunately. So I wasn't aware of this drainage issue until I heard him speak at Velma that night. But Trace and I have looked at it together. He's walked it with one of our contractors. And we do have a solution for it. We do have, and we put it on, I'm still working on finalizing the drainage list for this next year, but we have placed this on the drainage list for this coming fiscal year. We do have a few projects that impact our public right of way that we need to do immediately in July. So this won't be the top priority starting the fiscal year, but it will be on the list for this year to
But-
address.
With all due respect, Trace told me it was on the list last year. And so I mean, how can we assure him it's gonna be done next fiscal year?
Well, I apologize. I can't speak to all the lists for last year, but I didn't see it on there on the printed list that we issued. But it will be on a printed list for everyone to see,
Uh,
kind of like our drainage list.
And what's the scope of the project?
It's installing a catch basin. Got a little basic schematic if you'd like to see it.
I've
But
seen
it's
that,
installing a
I've
catch
seen-
basin,
yeah.
a junction box and pipe,
yes.
and kind of just bringing the water from back there, tying it into the storm infrastructure. at Creekwood.
Okay, so it's gonna go from Raindrop all the way to Creekwood,
Yes, sir.
and it'll all be underground. Right now, there's a flume,
That's
you know,
right.
that the water is carried. So all of that'll be
This will
underground.
be underground.
The ground will be put back,
Yes,
you know, and grass sown and everything.
yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, so I guess, Mr. Chairman, what scope of authority do we have to prioritize stormwater projects? I know we
Well, we
usually,
usually, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I know we usually let the staff.
That's exactly right. We
You know,
normally do because they're the
prioritize.
experts. You hire experts, for, you know, there's no different from a business that you're in. You hire the people that are experts to run your business. Although you make the last call. And I have to support whatever, if they tell me it's on the drainage list, it's gonna be completed, it's sort of like the paving list. They told me, you know, and here's what's being paved, and they come back and it's being paved, you know, and it's completed. So I have to, you know, I think as a committee, we need to, you know, do what our experts tell us. If Sarah says it's on the drainage list, it's gonna be done, I expect it to, I mean, as an alderman as well as you all expect it, and as the mayor, you all expect that problem to be completed, so I think that it's gonna be done. There's no doubt in my mind. Yes, sir.
So answer the question, sort of from my perspective. If the board tells me to do, if the board tells the city to do something, the city staff to do it, it's my responsibility to implement. Whether I agree with it or disagree with it, it's my responsibility to implement. I hope y'all wouldn't go that far. I think this conversation right here has alerted me that I need to make sure this gets done. Do y'all want to put a deadline on it just as a committee? You're welcome to do that. And you are welcome to take it to the board and pass a resolution, and that's fine as well too. Hearing this and hearing what you mentioned about Trace earlier sort of raises that level of awareness to me a little bit. That's all.
Yeah, and the fact that he's been waiting 10 years, almost 10 years, even though there are extenuating
Yeah.
circumstances. is
I mean, it could be, and you know, you have to remember this as well, and sometimes I get a little over, you know, not excited, but like, I think we can do things, but the priority is like, the things that I can't think of the words that I'm trying to think, but if we've got something like that's in the public, you know,
Public right of way.
yeah, in the public right of way, those things are necessary that have to be completed because that affects everybody in the city of Hendersonville and not just maybe two homes or one home. And I'm not singling this project out, but I think that's the most important, those things. But if it's on the drainage list to be done this year, then we'll continue to ask about it until it's completed.
Well, I have a motion for consideration. I'd like to make a motion that Ms. Locke would send him a letter and would copy all the members of this committee and Mr. Waters, since it's in Ward 6,
All right.
making a statement that it's on the list and will be done next fiscal year. Do you have any problem with that?
I do not.
Do I even need a motion, or will you just do it?
I'll just do it.
I'd like to have some documentation.
Sure.
And I think
Yeah,
that
that was-
documentation
yeah.
to Mr. Little will go a long way in keeping him from coming back.
Is this the only house on Raindrop Lane that's having drainage issues?
No, this is a little bit of a system issue, which is why the fix is, catch basin, pipe and a junction box. So it will benefit more than just 314.
Okay. And how many other 314 Raindrop Lanes are out there that have issues with drainage from the past decade? Do we know? Have we heard?
Still several outstanding. I know that we've made a lot of headway.
There's some, and I would say that every ward has.
I think at Creekwood that they just finished, really relieved a lot of
A lot of
water
Yes.
damage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we have a cost associated with this project?
It's estimated right now to be approximately 40,000.
And is there I guess every case is different, but is there generally a set amount, how much we're gonna spend per project on stormwater drainage issues?
No, it just depends on what the solution is and how we can mitigate the issue.
Okay,
Thank you.
So there's no motion, just a request from the vice chairman to get a letter. And also if you would make a copy of the letter to the mayor.
Sure.
I'm sure you would just like to keep it in your files just in case too, Mayor. All right.
thank you, Sarah, for working on this.
Okay.
And now we'll go ahead. Good to see you, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. And Jim,
Thank you.
Alderman Waters.
Hey, let me pass out some material. I may have already sent you one. But I don't know. This is you have one?
Yes, sir.
You do?
I do.
Did I send you one?
It was forwarded to me.
Okay,
Thank you.
and here's some pictures, in case y'all want to look at them. I'll try to be brief, but I do need to get back to the chairman of the house.
Oh, Lordy.
I received a couple of calls in the last probably month about this intersection. It wasn't so much about the traffic, is that the complaints were about the danger that's involved here. So I contacted the chief and got the report of the last 5 years of that intersection. Now, we all know that NSI is a state route. We understand that. They completed phase 2 several years ago. Phase 1 would start at Irish Drive, right there at the restaurant right there on that.
Yeah.
Sonic, yeah, right there, Sonic. That's phase 2, and correct me, Mayor, if I'm wrong. Phase 1 starts there and goes to Gallatin Road. But we don't know when that's gonna happen. I don't, and I've talked to Johnny Garrett, and he'd be the one that I think we all need to talk to in the final stages. Now, the corner that you're looking at, the photos, it's not only an eyesore, but it's a dangerous corner. You can see, hopefully you can see, there's an embankment that goes down. You know,
I've already seen
yeah,
it.
there's an embankment that goes down on the other side of the railing. I'd say some 10, 15 feet. I don't understand why it can't be built in, that embankment built in and widen that intersection at that point. Now, again, this is part of maybe T-Dot, but it's also Ward 6. That's where I'm concerned, and you're concerned, Eddie. Is it a situation we got to wait till T-Dot does something? I don't know, but it's really an eyesore as well. Now, the police report, if you look at it, it gave me a breakdown of the accident. Only 4 out of 29 of the last 5 years was involving the guardrail. And that was tractor and trailers. But it goes on to say that the other 25 were either rear ends, head-on collisions, or sideswiping each other, making that turn. That's also in your report. It's an intersection that it really concerns me now more than ever. I'd like to, if it's possible, with your permission, let's talk to Johnny Garrett about it, meet, see what his thoughts are going to be, because it may be a T-Dot problem. It may be both of us. It may be T-Dot and the city. If we can widen that intersection by building up that embankment and then moving it over some. So with that, that's all I've got to say, and I appreciate you letting me talk about it. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention. Sarah, is this intersection on our T-Dot list?
Like he's saying, they do have an outstanding widening project.
For this
So
intersection?
phase 1 will go all the way to the Main Street, whenever they do that. That'd be phase 1.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we have a traffic safety committee. I would like to refer this to that committee and have them investigate and then bring back a report to us if there's anything we can do or give us some options. Because they're the experts. That includes the police department, your department, so I would like for the staff, that committee, I'd like to refer this. And hopefully by the next Public Works Committee, have a report from the public safety, the traffic safety committee. Does that sound reasonable, Sarah? May not be much we can do, but
Yeah.
I'd still like for them to look at it and to, it may be our only option, may be to try to lobby Johnny, and say,
Sarah, what's your thoughts on that?
Hard part is the traffic and safety committee isn't scheduled to meet quite yet. So maybe we just ask Sarah and a couple staff members that would be the best ones for this to meet, because we already have crash data. So we don't really have to wait on that. So maybe it's Sarah and is it Sergeant Morrison?
Sure.
Okay, so maybe we can do that with Jesse and with Chief Miller, and we'll get together and then we'll give you some report for the next public works meeting.
is that okay, Jim?
Fine, thank you.
We'll do, okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you.
See you after a while.
Okay. See you in a little bit.
Tell Mom I'm coming. There you go.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is refer this to Sarah, and Public Works and the police department on this issue and have a report next meeting. And I don't think there's necessarily a motion or anything needs to be done. We'll put it on the agenda for next time.
Sure.
Yeah, we have those things that are crashed into all the time. I don't know whether it's waiting on the insurance, somebody's insurance that hit it. The tractor trailer has done that. Because I've seen them, and man, when they go around, I just start praying when I see it. When I'm sitting there parked at their red light in shack, so I understand what they're talking about. Anyways, is there any further discussion on that? All right, hearing that, we're gonna go ahead and go on the reading of ordinance and ordinance amending ordinance 2021-22 is amended to reflect adjustments to the city's fiscal budget.
So moved.
Okay, there's been a proper motion.
Second,
All right, any discussion?
I would like to jump in. I see there is a total in and additional funds of $50,896.68. I think these funds have been generated through the parks. There's a donation from the community. There's a donation from the Rotary Club for Memorial Park renovations, and then there's a $4,250 from
Community donations.
community donations, and then I think an insurance claim on some damages, so that $50,000 in totals. Where will this money go? Does this go back to the parks, or is this going to the general fund? Or do we know that yet?
Should be, I'm with the Parks Department. Angie's not available this evening. I'm Keith with the Parks Department. They will actually go back into the Parks Department budget where we will order those benches. That's becoming more and more popular with the public, is wanting memorial benches in the park around there. Sometimes they will buy them and then just give them to us. Sometimes we purchase them after they give us the money.
Okay,
And so we have one at Saunders Ferry up by the boat ramp. We've had a couple at the tennis courts, and more people they used to plant trees, do memorial tree donations.
right.
And now they're going more towards the bench thing because more permanent name
I think
recognition.
that makes more sense.
Yes. So-
And Keith, I recognize you. You're the rain out voice.
Yes, I have.
Great
Been.
street.
Yes, I have been for many years. Yes, sir.
Recognize that very well.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's.
Thank you.
What
Yes.
about the insurance money? Where's it go?
A lot of that was from the tornado in 2021. A lot of that had to do with some of the soccer lighting poles. I think a couple of them got struck. We've had issues with that, and my understanding, a lot of that money's already been spent. It's just we're reimbursing for that. Besides the first $1,000, there's $1,000 deductible on the insurance claims, and we are just reimbursing
I'm glad we didn't have to go to arbitration.
that. Yes, sir.
That's all I had, Chairman.
All right, any other comments on this? Mayor, do you have any? Yes, sir, Jesse.
I will note that there was one other donation from Coca-Cola that wasn't included here. So tonight, Ms. Cunningham will make an amendment to add another $7,142. And that will go to purchase supplies. So cost of supplies have gone up a lot. So that is, again, it's revenue neutral. So we've collected $7,142 that was not in the budget. It's coming to the budget from Coca-Cola. And the cost of supplies have gone up, so Andy will use that to offset the cost of supplies.
Okay,
Well-
so,
I changed my motion then to accept it as amended to include the 7,000.
$142.
Yeah, so I'll amend my motion to include the total amount. So
And I second that.
okay, let's go ahead and 7,142, is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, there's been amendment made and motion and amendment to the motion. And a proper second. Any further discussion on the Coca-Cola motion? All in favor of adding this to this and then also passing it? Or have they already voted on this in finance and are they doing it tonight?
After this meeting.
Okay. And referring it on to finance committee, signifies by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes unanimously.
A little bit of information. This
Yes.
is on your agenda for the board meeting tonight,
Yes,
and I'll make sure that everybody knows that before we vote on the agenda.
okay, good, thank you. Mayor.
I'd like to thank the Rotary Club also for another contribution for the Memorial Park fountain.
and it looks great. The fountain really looks.
It does. It's really nice.
All right.
They did a good job.
All right, now on to the main motion. That's been made and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion on the main motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion as it has been amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes unanimously, and we'll let finance deal with it, and we'll deal with it tonight at the board. number item B is the reading of resolution 2022-27, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for a water and ice vending machine in Saunders Ferry Park. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a proper motion and a proper second discussion.
Yeah, a question for Keith, I guess. What kind of commission will the city get from this? Is it a percentage?
Yeah, it's on page 12. This is Mr. Meyer. I'd like to introduce Mr. Meyer.
Okay.
He is with the company that's going to
Kyle
be.
Meyer. Good to see you. Eddie Robertson.
Kyle Meyer.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So are you the Iceman coming?
Yeah.
I guess, really, I'm just a person that travels for work a lot. And my kids play a lot of sports. So I started seeing these machines basically everywhere else. And they're super convenient. And I thought it was kind of odd that with our relations to the lake and then our parks in general, why do we not have them, right? My oldest daughter plays travel softball, so a lot of early mornings at the ballpark. And to be able to go to a park and they had these machines was super convenient.
Okay.
Getting out on the lake, we live on the lake, so being on the lake, super convenient. That's really it. It's a convenience. It's something that it's kind of, looking back, it's kind of odd that we don't already have it. Hendersonville's usually ahead of the curve on most things.
On page 12, it does say in there, he'll make a $500 donation and then,
That would be twice a year.
Twice a year.
Issued one.
and then the 7.5% of the gross. And that's standard what we charge concession stands.
Perfect.
A fee back to the city for the concession stands also.
Mr. Myers, do you have a ballpark figure of what 7.5% might be for the city?
I'll be honest, I don't have a clue because it's basically based on sales, right? This is something
Okay.
brand new that I have no idea on. The machines hold about 1,500 pounds of ice. If we sell 1,500 pounds of ice a day through the summer, it'll be a good chunk.
Okay. I think this is an excellent idea, and I also like that the opportunity that might expand into Drake's Creek or some other parts of the
Yeah,
city as well.
I think that's, like I said, the ballparks, right? And then volleyball courts or across the street, the tennis courts, probably. Even the new hockey, inline hockey over there. It's really, and it helps not just the parks, right? The neighboring communities there also can easily come.
And he is going to cover the cost of running the water to the machine. Part of it
Yes.
will be covered by his cost. And it goes through this year. The agreement is from May through December, so we'll revisit again as a yearly, something that will come up each year.
Okay. So we're signing a yearly lease.
Yes. I would in the long term, after going through it and seeing how it does,
Right.
I'd like to do long term eventually, because I think it's something that's really going to be a staple once it's in and once it's established.
I do not want to be responsible as the guy who took this out. after it's been
Oh,
there for a little
yeah.
while.
Oh, yeah. Because, I was sitting here thinking while you were talking, I don't know why in the heck we hadn't done this before. I mean, because
Especially
that,
Right there at the boat ramp.
oh, I know.
Yeah.
Fishermen will use it.
Well, and that's what, when I actually went and took the picture, so I photoshopped that in there, obviously. So when I went and took that picture that day, it was maybe in February, and there was already 10 or 12 trucks with boat fishermen out there. I was like, well, this will be wild in the summer. Like I said, we live on the lake, so we see it all summer.
Perfect. No question.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about the vision. I was thinking of ice cold beverages that might need to be,
There you go.
that might be needed. So,
The machines fill straight into a cooler too, if you're wondering. They're not pre-bagged like you buy them out of the machine.
Right.
You can bag it, you slide a bag over the chute, you can kind of see in the picture. Or you can just stick your cooler under it or, however you want to transport it.
How quickly does this make ice?
The second you take 10 pounds out, it starts making 10 pounds more.
Okay.
It'll make about 1,500 pounds a day
Wow.
So in about a 24-hour period, it'll make 1,500 pounds.
It's a really cool idea.
I know
Yeah,
it is.
it dispenses 10-pound increments. It also does, this machine here also does water too by the gallon, like you maybe see the big jugs of water.
Yes.
And so it also does those where you can get a single gallon, which I thought I have some other machines that are just ice too. But I really like this machine at the park, thinking of the disc golfers. You know, with the water in it. So
And how much is 10 pounds of ice?
more than you get out of the chest normally.
So I mean, what's the cost?
Oh, how much would it cost? About $2.50.
Oh, that's a bargain.
I thought you wanted to know how much it weighed.
So most of them, actually, when you go to the ice chest, most of those are gonna be 8-pound bags. You have some still selling 10-pound bags, but for the most part, they sell 8-pound bags and they charge for 10-pound bags.
So you can get also water from your machine.
Yes, sir.
That'll be good for the people who walk and with their dogs,
Yeah. I just thought of all the events, especially with Saunders Ferry Park, My initial thought was Saunders Ferry Park. If we ever had power at Mallard Point, at Boat Access
Yeah.
there, and then also Rockland. Those would be good because where they're located throughout the city.
I don't know. I don't know if the one at Rockland Park would be nice, but I don't know what the federal government says about that. selling this machine, but
So
This one-
we actually have had to go through with the Army Corps of Engineers to have this one approved also.
well, I'll be, wow.
So
Yeah, that was my next question. What if the Corps?
the only thing we're waiting on the Corps now is, I guess where the parks leases the land from the Corps.
Right,
When the contract was originally written, it was written that the city of Hendersonville or maybe the Parks Department, one or the other, was the leasee. And so the Army Corps of Engineers said that they needed to be listed as a master leasee. So we're just waiting basically on that paperwork to be finished.
jargon, such.
Like I said, we live on the lake, so I deal with the Corps a lot.
Yeah, I know, I do
all about
too.
it. So you know all about it. So.
I mean, the mayor just sent me a letter on there. I was like, oh my God, I've done something wrong. And I looked in there and.
No,
so
they said we
Jamie-
can extend our reach now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, any further discussion on this agreement? Mayor, do you have anything on this?
Don't.
Okay. There's been a motion and proper second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, is all in favor of reading of resolution 2022-27, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes unanimously on to.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sonny. Okay, thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Thank you,
It
Mr.
still
Wilson.
has to pass the board.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes.
Yeah.
that should happen
Good to
before
see
you
you.
hear from the
Nice to
board.
see you. Thank you very much.
Whereabouts do you live on the lake?
We live on Bay Shore
Yeah,
Drive,
I
so
know where it is.
355, we're up, you go up the hill, we're up on the hill there.
Good deal. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's a great idea. It really is.
Did they contact us?
Yes,
Very good.
yes, I think that's.
Okay, we've done the ordinances and resolutions for the city, so our for our work tonight. Now let's go to other agenda items and trash collection update.
Yes, first, I would like to say, Monday, there will be no collection. The transfer station is closed for the holiday. So, Monday will be collected on Tuesday, so on and so forth. We'll post that on the website and push that out on social media as well.
Okay.
So everything will be pushed back.
Yes, sir, one day.
If we should mention that tonight.
And we are, I'm going to, I've written it down on your website and social media and.
I'll get on all my
No
HOA
trash.
pages.
Thank you.
No trash, no trash, no trash on that.
Eddie, I want to get on your HOA pages.
As far as the monthly update, we did have quite a spike in the middle. It was actually a Monday, Tuesday spike. The previous week, there was a combination of things. There was a new driver on a route, so there was an increase in regular residential misses. There also was an issue with bulk collection for the previous week, which I think we have finally moved past. But that's that spike you see in the middle of the month. Other than that,
So I contacted, I was contacted by Glen Oaks.
okay,
They've been having a lot of problems with trash pickup in Glen Oaks. So would you talk to West Pro about sending a video? So just Glen Oaks, maybe
Okay.
you talk to Lori or somebody about it.
sure. Yes,
Are they dismissing homes or is it just trash in the street?
They've been missed some, the garbages when they empty them, they just throw them down. They've tore the lids off of several of them. And it's just not providing good service, you know. And there's bags that are outside the garbage can that they're not picking up. So just a whole sort of complaints that I've heard.
Sure.
So.
yeah, I'll contact them.
All right, we'll do that. Paving list. 2023.
So this is a draft paving list for this next fiscal year. Jesse, Trace, and I drove all of the roads listed on the 18 month, which is that correlates to the fall of 2022. And then we also drove all of the 24-month roads, which correlate to spring of 23 and fall of 23. So it was split kind of how that was put together. In driving all of them, along with some that we had received requests for review on from aldermen, mayor, residents, we compiled this list of what we believe to be most representative of some of the roads in the city that really need paving the most. And it is some not a lot, some of it is a divergence from what is shown for this next fiscal year and the 3-year plan. But I think that the three of us agreed that this was really representative of some of the worst roadways.
And how do you determine this list and what's a priority as far as condition of the roads, or what exactly do you use as a parameter?
Can I interrupt you and tell you what it is not? It is not what the mayor says.
That's true.
I'm very clear on that.
It's based on the condition of the roadway, the rideability, the amount of, Trace would say pimpling, the amount of times that we've had potholes filled along, not just one small area, but continually through a stretch of roadway where you just see one pothole after another that have been filled, where you see the rutting and alligatoring, which really what that represents, it's water sinking down into the subgrade. And then you end up with an issue if you don't address it, where the roadway has to be completely rebuilt. It can no longer be milled and paved, because if you do that in just a few years, that all surfaces again. And so we were really looking at what we needed to do now to address some of the worst roadways and to prevent them from needing full depth replacement, which is far more expensive.
So a good list. I'm excited. And would the paving on this list start July 1st?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
We'll say you asked about priority. One of the top priorities is Center Point Road. We do have 3, since it was originally listed for this last fiscal year, we do have 3 pipes that need to be replaced along that road. So
I
we'll
will, yeah.
do that first.
So I've been told by your department that the 2 roads that are heavily traveled that are in worse shape
Mhm.
is Center Point Road and Stop 30. Stop 30 is not on this list. And it gets a lot of traffic more and more. So I'm a little disappointed that we don't have any plans for Stop 30. But in the budget, there is some money to look at Stop 30. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Just in case residents of Stop 30 are watching this, can you tell us what we're gonna be doing from the consultant on Stop 30?
Yes, so we'll be utilizing a consultant to study the roadway survey and provide recommendations for potential widening and possibly with some combination for traffic calming within a somewhat limited scope instead of cutting down slopes, things like that. So that's what we'll be looking at with that. That would, once the plans are finalized, that would entail a resurfacing.
And Mayor or Jesse, whoever, isn't planning also gonna be doing some consultant work on Stop 30?
They are.
So how are these two projects gonna dovetail?
So planning is looking more from an economic and planning perspective, but what that means is they will be looking at if we need to add turn lanes and the transportation aspect of planning. So what we will do is work with planning's plan and the engineer and put them together to say, hey, these are future possibilities that we see this road doing. So anything that we do now, as far as road improvements go, we wouldn't want that to counteract what we would do in the future with what planning is putting together for the Stop 30 section.
I just want to encourage staff to continue to do everything they can because Stop 30 is a dangerous, it's so narrow. And I get complaints all the time. So other than that, I think the list looks good. Now, my question, can stormwater be used for any of these projects to reduce the cost of paving?
They can for the stormwater portion of the project. So, you know, on some of these projects, say we go, let's just pick one, and we go to High Point and we need to do some curb and gutter. So the curb and gutter, what that's going to direct the water is going to be charged against the stormwater account. Not the actual pavement, but if we're going to do a pipe, a new culvert or a pipe under the road, then yes, we're going to separate that out. We're going to charge it to stormwater, and we're just going to charge the paving to the paving budget, all the stormwater related, curb and gutter, storm drains, all those things that are part of the repaving project that can go to stormwater will go to stormwater.
Will that reduce the cost that we see almost 7 million
No,
by using stormwater?
this is the paving cost.
So this is the supplemental paving budget and the safe street, the state street.
Yes, sir.
That's-
State Street. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all.
All right.
I want to jump back to the consultant on Stop 30. There's two projects, planning and I think paving. Is there one consultant or two?
We haven't selected a consultant yet for the roadway project.
Okay.
My understanding is that planning is having, they haven't had a lot of interest from the consultants in doing a smaller project. I think they have one on board now.
Okay.
So if we could use the same consultant, we would definitely utilize that because as Mr. Robertson mentioned, we'd like the projects to complement each other and work together.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mayor, did you have an opportunity to be spoken to about the list? Did you see any problem with it?
I appreciate that. I made some suggestions before they went out, and then they filled me in with the list when they got back. And I said, these go to public works committee. Oh, Eddie, I'll get them. Eddie, I'll give them the ground.
Okay, I'll go in the budget.
All right. All right, let's vote on this real quick if we need to. He's gone.
Well, it's a great list.
Yeah.
I hesitate to vote yes because I don't see Lake Terrace Drive.
Yeah,
I know, we
there are some, and I agree with you. There's some on there.
can't,
But you can't do all of them,
No.
you know? But I understand what you mean.
but you mentioned it for the record.
Yes, I did.
So that's what I did.
So there's always a chance for next year.
Supplemental,
Yes.
like we did.
There we go. That's right. So.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need to vote on this. That's your, you know, be sure that, I guess, will be questioned at the board, which we should be, you know, so I have that available for the other aldermen to look at as well as send it out, I guess, via the email. Don't you all agree with that? To let them know?
Yeah, I think one alderman asked for it, didn't he, for the budget?
We've already sent the draft out. We sent it out as a draft, but it's already been disseminated to BOMA.
Okay, good, thank you. Good, because I don't think they did I think it was last meeting they did.
Ms. Collins asked for it.
Yeah, Rachel did. Yeah.
Can I say one other thing?
Yes, sir.
So by the way, I think this works well. I don't think the board should go down line by line on every road that should be repaved in every segment. I don't think that's worthwhile for us, because we've seen sort of in the past where that ends up, making sure that every ward gets taken care of and that kind of
Right.
thing, even though some of the roads in that ward may not be is in bad shape. I think this works, that the staff puts together, our professionals put it together and then comes to y'all. And I feel like, I hope y'all feel like you have some say on this. If you see, and you mentioned a couple items there, you are certainly welcome to give me a shout or give Sarah a shout anytime that, you see a road. That's exactly what I do. I think I named 3 or 4 roads, maybe they might have been more than that, 5 or 6 roads. And they went out and looked at those roads with all the other lists, all the other roads, but I was very clear, this needs to go to Public Works. And they were fine with that too. That was their intention as well.
Well, one thing that I've always, and you've heard me preach about this at the board level to the other aldermen. We've always tried to keep the politics out of the paving. What's really genuinely there. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But the overall, I was looking at the street list and, I approve it. Even if it was different, I would approve it, because that's why you all are what we hire you to do this thing, and it is what it is. All right. But we can always come back and revisit the paving list, at our committee meetings at any time.
Well, and I would like to thank the mayor and BOMA for increasing the paving funds.
Absolutely. Yeah, that helped a great deal. Trust me.
So we can do this many roads. And so it's, people can see their tax dollars.
Yes.
I really think we're changing the narrative on the roads.
Good. I do too.
I hear
I
people
believe it.
saying, boy, y'all are really paving, aren't you?
Yeah.
So I think, the narrative has changed.
Well, I hope so. We as a committee and as a city have tried to do that over the years, and I think people are starting to notice more now that we're changing the narrative there. And I appreciate those comments, because that's what we try to do here at Public Works.
Excellent list, Sarah. Thank you.
All right, if there's no discussion any more discussion on the paving list at this time, go to the contingency fund.
I will keep this brief because I know we have a finance committee meeting coming up. So this year, what we've added to the budget is a line item in the capital projects department for contingency funding. We don't typically add contingency on a project when we approve a project.
Right.
So with the approval process of going to finance committee or a capital projects committee, and then 2 readings at BOMA for an ordinance to approve a budget amendment, that process of any change in scope could delay a project that's not beneficial to the city. So what staff has come up with is a way to allow staff some flexibility and some efficiency with projects, so that we don't have to delay a job to approve a change order that's necessary. So this deals with any type of change of scope in a project that we already have budgeted in our contingency line item in the budget. So this is some framework for staff when we come up, we're doing a project and that, hey, we forgot to put a beam in and it's going to be $20,000 and we're in the framing section of the project and we don't necessarily have 6 weeks to wait, stop and go back. So this is some framework within the approved budget to work within. So it just is an itemized amount of thresholds and what the approval process would be for a staff member to use that contingency fund. So since we have a contingency fund over $500,000, we wanted to put some framework on how staff was going to dip into that and not just completely be at staff's discretion. So this would involve the mayor and the chairs of the committees when it comes to certain threshold limits. So this just gives us a way that we can responsibly go about approving some change orders, but it doesn't just leave the project open-ended, and it doesn't add 10% contingency as a standard on every project, which a lot of times when you do that, sometimes the projects go up to 9.9% of that content, 9.9%
Yeah.
of the project cost. So this gives us some flexibility. It allows some control from the mayor and for BOMA for some oversight. And it is in an effort to make projects more efficient and not stall projects out when it's not beneficial to the city.
Makes sense.
Most projects that are approved though, have built in a contingency.
Some do,
Amount.
some do.
So what this is over and above that contingency. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So it says a per project cumulative of 10%. So if a project does have some contingency built in, like say it may not have a certain item called out and it says there's a contingency of $75,000 to purchase this project. This would be in excess of that. I would think if we go through a project that has built-in contingency, then once we get to 10%, whether it was built in or not, we would be notifying the chairs, we would be notifying the mayor. But yes, you are correct. If it has some built-in contingency, this framework is in addition.
And I want us to continue to make that part of an RFP, a contingency. For example, the fire hall, didn't we tell them to build in a contingency
We did,
amount?
we did.
So I hope this doesn't take the place that, I hope we can still on construction projects say, all right, in the bidding process, we want you to add, I don't know, 5%, 6% contingency.
Yeah, I don't think this would take the place of that. We've had projects that have not included the contingency. So this would absolutely help with that. With the fire hall is a great example of where a little bit of contingency was built in. And if we needed to, this could supplement that, but in a responsible manner.
Yeah, I think this looks fine.
Okay, do we need to vote on that, or is this just something inside that can be done, or?
I will probably bring a resolution back to BOMA.
Okay.
Establishing this framework.
Are these thresholds similar to the city's procurement policy?
They're similar. Basically for the little items under 5,000, we don't need to be, going to the mayor for little items. Anything that's then 10% or greater has to come back to BOMA. So those are really the major thresholds. The in between are somewhat minor to a project.
Well, I like it for the simple fact that it wouldn't hold up a project if something, change order or you name it, pops up. It can continue.
All right, we look forward to that resolution coming towards us. Any further discussion on the contingency fund? It's a great idea, actually. Will help us, I think, in the future.
Now let's have some really good news.
Yeah,
Really good.
Okay, we're getting ready. Oh my God. Just look, I saw what it was. Okay. we have-
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah.
discussed the raindrop rain issue. We discussed the Chaco Island West Main Street issue. There shouldn't be any discussion on that. If there is, raise your hand or jump in. If not, we're moving into the light synchronization update, so.
This
Got a verbal.
project
Yes.
is advertised for construction.
Wow.
Praise the Lord. If you were a man, I'd hug you.
Yes, bid opening date, June 23rd.
Perfect. 23rd.
And we're gonna have bidders.
I certainly hope so. I haven't had any plans picked up, but they weren't available until yesterday afternoon. And that was part of the advertisement, was that they wouldn't be available till 2 o'clock yesterday. So,
Very good. That's exciting.
yes, it is.
So let us know when they're opened, and I guess we'll select the bid at that time.
No, I guess we'll evaluate them after we get them.
We have to evaluate them, and then we tentatively with the design consultant select the apparent low bidder, and we have to submit to TDOT for concurrence. They
Oh,
review the
Lord.
bid. I will say they have already concurred with the bid for Sanders Ferry, so.
Oh, good news. Okay.
Hopefully.
Well,
Yeah.
so Sanders Ferry, Greenway, we sent that to them 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, yes,
And
right
they
on
turned,
there.
they turned around that quickly, that they looked at it and said, okay, we can use their money.
Wow,
Good,
that's real
good.
good.
Thank you, Sarah. I know you've called them every day. I know that you're on their dirty list,
Yeah.
you know, but thank you.
They go through the hallway, run through it out.
There's that lock woman. There's that lock woman. Lock her out.
She's blowing up my emails.
Well, thank you.
Girl from Hendersonville,
Thank you.
I'm not here. No.
Thank you.
All right, I guess that there's no,
I would like to ask about FEMA disaster cleanup. Have we got a total on that yet?
We do not have a final total yet. There were some back and forth with some of the police reserves that worked. They had initially accounted for them as utilizing their overtime toward our total, but they're reserves and they don't get paid. And so they've had to kind of rework some of the worksheets. And then also they're still waiting on some of the information from the contractors that helped us.
Okay,
So we don't have a total yet. It looks like preliminarily we may be around the 500,000 range.
so you would wait till you get all of the totals in before you submit that to FEMA?
Yes.
Okay.
They're packaging everything, making sure it's complete and then loading it into the portal.
And do we have any idea what the turnaround is for reimbursement?
No. I'm sorry, no.
It is the federal government.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't even want to pretend to have a
Well,
timeline for you right
and I
now.
appreciate staying on top of that, because, that's money that the city paid out,
Mhm.
and so it'll be good to get that
Yes,
reimbursed into the coffers.
Definitely.
That's all I have.
all right. Anything else from anybody? Good meeting.
Very good.
We need a motion.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Sarah, tell everybody, thank you. We appreciate